Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. Of course, my glasses are dirty. Anything to clean them with. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Hello, hello. Hello. Hopefully TikTok's gonna let comments come through tonight. Hello, hello. How's it been going so far? Well, I just hopped on. How are you doing? Is it a crazy house at your house with the WrestleMania? I used to love wrestling. I watched a lot of it on my little black and white TV back in the day. A lot of Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Macho Man. Isn't that what you told me, right? I did get that right, right? Yes. Hey, Jen. So tonight we're talking Real Talk with Renee and Jen. Wrestling and hockey. Oh boy. I don't know anything about, well, I shouldn't say that. I used to watch, I had all of the Mighty Duck movies. Does that count? I've never actually been to a real hockey game ever. I know it's a big thing in different places, but I'm from a small town in Iowa. We didn't have that kind of thing. And they had it in Rapid, but my husband wasn't into it, so we didn't go. So, and then when I was alone, I never had money or a car to go. So, Douglas, hey Douglas, thank you for the likes. How are you? How are you feeling? I'm praying I can get into a chiropractor tomorrow. My neck has just been unreal since last week. Right, yep. You're doing okay? That's good. Good to hear. Yeah, we had Rapid City Rush, but like I said, you know, my husband was never into it, and if he wasn't into it, we didn't go. And like I said, I never had money after he passed, and if I had a car, you know, I never had money, and so I just never went. It just, I don't know. So, yeah, so tonight we're talking Real Talk with Renee and Jen. We're going to be talking about understanding your power. And this isn't just for women, guys. You know, a lot of guys give their power away to people too. You understand the money thing? Yeah, my whole world, not only did my whole world implode, but so did my financial everything, right? I lost my car, my camper, just about anything that was of importance to me. Yeah, I mean, when you go from a truck driver's salary to, you know, barely, I mean, basically what he brought in a week, I went to barely in a month. So, yeah. Plus then trying to keep up with the same apartment, and yeah, it was nearly impossible. It wouldn't have been had my two jobs worked out the way they were working and everything, but it is what it is. Oh, sorry, Jen, it didn't say that. I didn't realize you were on. Let me see. How do I request? Okay, now it's not letting me request. Well, maybe we're going to do this tonight. Maybe hop off and hop back on. That was my bad, Jen. I should have clicked invite. I didn't even actually see it. And it didn't send me a request either. Welcome to TikTok, guys. You gotta love it. So if you're just hopping on with us tonight, tell us who you are, where you're from. Tonight we're talking about understanding your power. And this isn't just a woman thing, right? A lot of men give their power away too. Let me plug my phone in. There we go. There she is. Let's see if it'll let me. All right, TikTok's being difficult. It wouldn't even let me push the button hardly.
That's
Sorry, guys,
because I had requested to go live with you, and for some reason,
Yeah,
so I
sorry.
had to,
That
I had to,
flashlight.
I had to withdraw my request. For some reason, I cannot turn my camera off. There we are, on, whatever. And now I got it.
Well, we can just do audio if it works better. Oh, there we go.
No, I think when I clicked the thing, then I didn't click save, so that's why.
Gotcha. So tonight, guys, we're doing Real Talk with Renee and Jen, and we're talking about understanding your power. And like I said, this doesn't just isn't just for women, right? A lot of men give their power away too. And actually, I've been talking to somebody who, that's a thing, is that can be a pattern, right? And that's something that I'm realizing, right? Is that's a pattern. Whoops, did I just glitch for you? I totally glitched for me.
No, I didn't
Hey
see it.
Lucy, how are you? Thank you for the likes. I appreciate that. So, I guess so basically a vital step in reclaiming and understanding your power in the present, right?
Right.
Was I going to say anything else, Jen? Sorry.
Yeah, well, the first thing we were going to talk about is how you
Ways of losing. Yeah. How do we lose our power? So we're
or
going to talk
not
about that
realize,
first. Yeah.
or not realize we even have it.
Yeah. Do we realize I guess that's a good thing to bring up. Do we even realize that you have power? Right.
Right. The reason why I say that is
What that
because
means.
sometimes it happens when we're little. And so we
Yeah.
never see that power.
Yeah.
I wrote down a bunch of stuff I wanted to go through as far as how you lose it or how you don't realize
real
it.
quick before you do that, Jen, I'm just going to say real quick, if you're just hopping on with us, tell me who you are, where you're from. Tonight we're talking about understanding your power. And I'm not talking about like being a superhero, right? And those kind of powers. I'm talking about, help me out, Jen. My brain. I'm sorry, guys. I've had a headache all day.
Your power to make your own choices is to know that you are somebody who has that ability to choose for yourself. That's your power, taking care of yourself and your power.
Right. Sorry, Jen. My brain is like, oh, not functioning well. So go ahead, Jen. We're going to let Jen kick it off. If you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. If you're not familiar, my name is Renee. Welcome. Chime in anytime. We'll try to get to your comments when we can. Take it away, Jen.
And I can pause after each one if you want to. Then you can.
Yeah, let's do that. And then we can kind of welcome everybody as they come in. If you've got something to add, don't be shy here, though. We are not shy here. So we want your comments as long as TikTok lets us see them. That's the tricky part.
So I listed several things. I want to probably read what I wrote because it'd be easier to say, but some people may have endured abuse or ridicule as children, and they kind of adopted what they call learned helplessness. Now, what I took and I looked at the definition, I know what it is, but I wrote down the definition. Learned helplessness is basically a state where an individual continuously experiences uncontrollable and stressful situations and eventually stops trying to change their circumstances even when opportunities for improvement become available, like as you become an adult. So that's one of the ways, is the abuse that we get as far as that's concerned. What do you have anything to add on?
I'm just trying to think. I wrote my notes like 2 weeks ago.
Personal stuff. No, I'm talking about something from your brain.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see if we can get my brain to work tonight.
And also to remind
stripping
people
your power. Yes. Well, for me, I can personally say, as a child, I guess that would be a perfect example for me as a child. I never felt like my voice mattered. And even as I got older, my voice didn't matter, right? I was always if you knew me, I talked a lot. If you didn't know me, I was extremely shy. Right? And so in my family, a lot of the time I was told to just be quiet. Right. And so in a way, I just kind of give over my power and never took it back for a long, long time. I kind of learned to just withdraw and go in because, I felt that, whatever I had to say wasn't important. So I just stopped speaking.
Right. Did you want to go ahead and remind people of what we're talking about? I know we're going
Yeah,
to do
so
that.
if you're just hopping on with us tonight, welcome. Tell us who you are, where you're from. Tonight's Real Talk with Renee and Jen. Welcome. My name is Renee. That's Jen. And tonight we're talking about understanding your power. And this isn't just a woman thing, right? It happens with boys, it happens with men, it happens with women and little girls, right? It's a population thing, right? Or just a human thing, I guess, right? You could be a little boy and somebody felt like they took your power away, or even a grown man, right? Maybe you're in a relationship where, a lot of times, they always say, oh, the woman's in a bad relationship, but there are times where men are in bad relationships too, right? And they give their power away to their partner. And so tonight we're talking about how, first of all, ways how our power is taken away. But now, and then we're also going to discuss, I apologize, guys, I can't talk because I've had a headache all day. But ways that we can get our power back. So Jen's going to take over.
Yeah. So
And
So and the first one we talked about was, you could have been abused from a child, and so you never saw your powers. Basically, why I brought that one up, because you never even saw it. The
right,
abuse could have started, when really young. Another one would be bullying in school. Sometimes when we start school, that's when it happens. Is we start getting bullied, and we never learn that we're not stronger than the other person, or that we can take our power back from them when they're trying to steal it from us. Um,
right.
so
That's a
that's
good
another
one.
one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a really good one.
A third one that I had come up was like you had brought up, was actually relationships. As we get into relationship that ends up being, maybe it's physically or sexually or emotionally abusive, um, we could easily get our power taken away, like you said, with either men or women. There is this thing called, that I wanted to bring up, was reactive abuse, which basically, I'm sorry, I got to change the page here, is
Okay.
basically when somebody does something to you to trigger you, and then he or she blames you for that response, that, look, see, you're crazy or whatever. That's a form of, it's called reactive abuse. I actually didn't know about reactive abuse, that particular phrase, until my last relationship. And I'd never heard of it, and I heard about it from I said, what is that? And I looked it up, and that's what it was. Basically, it's like, you're the bad person. And so you come to think that, basically, we think it's our fault and we've done something wrong, because they turn it back on us. They
Right.
wait
Yeah.
until you respond, and then it's like, see, you got a problem because you're responding to something that they did, even though it was a trigger that they purposely did in order
Right.
to.
Which I actually just experienced here recently myself. So
Yeah.
I can totally relate. If you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. My name is Renee, and we're doing Real Talk with Renee and Jen tonight, and we're talking about understanding your power. So
Yeah,
continue,
and I
Jen.
just had one more. One more. It's kind of long though, but because I wrote a lot. But it could be as simple as, like we had talked about before. Our parents making us do things like give a hug to someone we don't want to, and they don't give us a choice. So therefore, we feel like our choices aren't even our own, and we take that into us an adult life. It can cause us, to be people pleasers, where we feel we have, the only way that we have power and control is to control or to do everything for everybody else, and that's how we gain our control and power. And it
Right.
really takes our power away, because we aren't taking care of our own needs, and we're abandoning ourselves. And so that's
Real
what I
quick,
wanted to.
hi Abbott, how are you? And Joey's mama Janet, hello. Where are you from, Janet? Welcome. I'm Renee. This is Jen. We're doing Real Talk with Renee and Jen tonight. This is just a Sunday night thing. And yes, I totally relate to that, Jen. We're talking about understanding your power. And when you talked about that, it's like, boy, do I really relate to that for sure. That
Yeah,
last one
because
that we're talking about. Do you want to just refresh real quick what we just said? That last
basically,
one.
I just said that we can, when we're kids, I basically, the framework was that when we're kids, sometimes our parents like, oh, give your grandma a hug, or your grandpa or somebody,
Right.
and you don't necessarily want to, but then you feel like they telling you have no
You
choice,
tell him.
and so like you take it into adulthood, and like then you start, maybe you have to people please. Is one of the biggest things that I see a lot, is people pleasing, people trying to do things in order to control a situation, and in order to
Right.
control what the outcome is going to be. Although we got to
Right.
realize we don't have that control. It just feels like it, because we you know. And so
Right.
we think that that's the only way we can get power. And otherwise,
Right.
but what happens is we actually have less power because we're not taking care of our own needs and we're abandoning ourselves. That's what I basically said in the end.
And that's why I wanted you to go over that one again, because I had a train of thought for that and I lost it because I've had a headache all day, guys. But yes, the people pleasing is huge, right? Like how many people, anybody here ever people pleased? Hey Antonio, thank you for the roses and the hearts. I appreciate you so much.
Nice.
But yes, I was a huge people pleaser. Janet, you're a people pleaser, and a lot of that stems from giving our power away or our power being taken from us, or like Jen said, sometimes we don't know we ever have power, right, as a child, and we just grow up not realizing that we do have power, right, and understanding that. And so for me that was a huge one, because there again I felt like I didn't have any power as a child. So then you go into and I think even people pleasing maybe even started for me before, a little before adulthood, maybe in my teenage years even, right, where you do everything to try to make other people happy so that way you get their validation, right? And that's where you're giving your power away, right? You're thinking if I do all this for everybody else and they give me their validation, then that's like you said, you're gaining that power, and really you're not. You're just handing it away, right?
Right.
And a lot of people don't realize is that actually stems back to learning to love yourself, and like I've said a million times on this TikTok, that that comes into almost everything we talk about, right?
Right.
Almost
It's the
every
most
topic.
important. It's the
Yes,
most
it is the
important
most
thing
important
because
thing, is learning to love yourself. And then that people pleasing goes away, because then you no longer need anybody's validation. So you're learning to take your power back by loving yourself, figuring out who you are, and then you don't need that validation anymore. So if you're just hopping on with us tonight, it's Real Talk with Renee and Jen, and we're talking about understanding your power. And tell us who you are, where you're from. If you're new here, welcome, welcome. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to that part, Jen?
no, I think that's what I had written down, and then the other stuff that I read that you had sent me that I'm just going to go off of what you said, just off pulling
Oh,
out of my
okay. Okay. Well, I'm just going to read a little bit of basically understanding the old version of yourself, right? Uh, be by analyzing your previous behaviors, beliefs, and emotional triggers. So these are ways that now you can learn to take your power back, right? Realizing that you have triggers, realizing certain behaviors, right? Maybe not speaking up for yourself. I know that was a huge behavior for me, and I still catch myself at times, right? Hold on, real quick. Let's read what Janet has to say. I was 8 years old when I became a second mom to my sisters, so I never knew that I had power. Exactly.
Exactly.
Yep. And so obviously you realize that now. So are you approaching that by figuring out, okay, now how to get your power back? Have you gained your power back? Um, Let us know, where are you at now then with that? And while we're waiting for you to comment, I'm just going to finish here. And so there again, realizing you have triggers. For me, I have triggers when people tell me to be quiet. Because my whole life I was told to be quiet, right? And took my power away from me. I didn't have that ability to speak what I wanted to say or my opinion, right? I was basically told to just be quiet. So as an adult, if somebody tells me to be quiet, unfortunately, that still kind of is a trigger for me. Jen, were
And
you going
I've
to say
never,
something?
no, I was going to say I understand where you're coming from. I wasn't ever allowed to speak my mind half the time either, but mostly I'm just was going to say that I've never told you to be quiet, and I'm very proud of myself because I didn't know that, but I've never told you to be quiet because I wouldn't
And
like
we've
it
been
either.
friends for what? It'll be 21 years here in a couple months. So, or 22. Are we at 22 or 21? I forget. I think 22 actually.
It's funny because I was just like, I've never ever thought to tell her to be quiet. Maybe because I don't like to be told that either. So I get it.
Right.
I wouldn't want to be
Right.
told to be.
So Janet says, I'm going to be 65 and a lot of therapy. You're single now. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So Janet, all of this therapy, did it work then? Do you love yourself? Do you know your power? Are you a people pleaser, or has therapy not worked, kind of worked? Where are you at? Sorry guys. I've had a headache all day and now I'm having a hot flash.
Oh no.
I
I
can't
wish I
win
could
today.
fan you, but I don't think it would work.
Oh, yes. Okay. I
Tell
take it
Bentley
yes,
to get on
therapy
that.
works. Is that what the yes is for? So if you're just hopping on with us tonight, tell us who you are, where you're from. My name is Renee. This is Jen. We're doing Real Talk with Renee and Jen, understanding your power. And so right now we're just talking about ways of how to get that power back, right? So what does it look like? Putting the ego and the pride aside sometimes, right? Looking at yourself, being 100% honest with yourself to heal and find that peace. And that's where a lot of people struggle is they don't want to be honest with themselves, right? A lot of people are maybe people pleasers, right? And they don't want to step away from that because that's their comfort zone, right?
Hmm. Right.
Did you have anything you want to add to that, Jen?
I mean, yeah, it is. And they think, like I said before, they think that's going to help them control the situation. The people pleasing gets that they do it. I feel like people do it in order to like think, oh, if I do all these things for them, then they'll stay, like especially in relationships, they'll stay and then if I make sure I don't do the wrong thing. And that feels to when I look at that, it's like that seems like so sad because they don't have the power to go, no,
It's
this is
not
how
right.
I need to be. This is how I need to be, not people pleasing, but taking care of my own.
Well, and that is a really good point because I've found myself in that position since my husband died or passed. Excuse me, I have to be careful what I say so TikTok don't throw me off here. But I found myself in relationships at times um, giving my power away because I wanted that relationship maybe so bad. But that was a learning lesson for me since my husband passed because I was in a relationship for 32 years with him, so I didn't know that I had a pattern, right? I didn't know these patterns until after he passed or was learning my patterns, right? And so it was a really good learning experience for me a couple times of going, no, by sitting back and even accepting less, right? That's another perfect example of settling for something just because maybe it's in your comfort zone and you don't know what else you're going to do, right? Maybe you would be homeless because if you left this relationship, you have no, your finances would change and your home would change, right? So you stay in the comfort of that relationship because you don't know what to do instead of stepping out of that comfort zone and going, no, I'm going to take my power back and I'll figure it out, right? Hold on, let's see what Debbie had to say.
Yeah,
Have the power to also take control of your own life. Exactly. And that's
exactly.
the whole point. And that's what we're talking about tonight. Thank you, Debbie, for that. Is just learning to take control of your own life, taking your power back. Exactly. Jen, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, because I kind of lost my train of thought, but it's okay.
Okay.
Just
Well, let
continue.
me go on and then maybe your train of thought will come back to you.
It might
Um,
not have been that important. I
Another
don't
one
know.
is not playing the victim card. Do you want to, Jen, can you talk about maybe how that plays into the power card?
I think because when you constantly put yourself in victim mode, like say you've had two bad, like some woman has had two bad relationships, and it's victim. This is what happened to me in this one. This was happened to me in this one. And you
Still
continue to
giving your
do
power
that.
away.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you're basically saying I have no power to change my future. It's going to be
Right.
the same no matter what. I'm going to keep getting the same old thing because I can't step out and say no. I know that I can have a better
Right.
life. You
Right.
and when you're
And
constantly complaining about what somebody's doing and you're not saying no, yes, this happened. I take my ownership in it, and they might have done stuff, but that doesn't mean that I have to let that define me.
right. Debbie, I'm so glad that you did that. I'm sure that was a very hard decision and choice, especially back then, because back in that time, that was kind of taboo to leave somebody because of that. So I hope you're very proud of yourself for taking your power back. That happened when my son passed at 36 and I started raising his daughter. I lost myself again. And that does happen. For me, I was married, I had started having kids at, 17 and got married at 18 and exactly, I just give my power away because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know I had any power because, growing up without that power, I give it away. But Jen, I'm glad that you mentioned that playing the victim card with a relationship, you had a disabled daughter also. That is really extremely hard. So thank you for sharing that, guys. I appreciate that. And we are not shy here, so keep sharing. And if you're just hopping on with us, tell us who you are, where you're from. My name is Renee. This is Jen. We're doing Real Talk with Renee and Jen tonight. We're talking about understanding your power. And I just wanted to get back to your point, Jen, about you were talking about like if a woman's in a relationship, right? She's had several, right? And that's kind of where I've been, where I've been talking to several, people since my husband died, and a lot of them ended up in just learning experiences. But instead of playing that victim card that I could have easily played, right? I stepped out and I took my power back, and I was 100% honest with myself, took responsibility for my part in it, but took my power back, but also, like I said, was 100% honest with myself and said, what am I supposed to be learning here? Because obviously these are learning experiences for me. And they were. It was learning to not settle, because honestly, I had settled for 30 years in a lot of ways, right? And so learning that I was never going to settle again, that I was worth more than somebody just dangling a carrot in front of me and once in a while when that was okay with them, right? Learning to take my power back and going, no, I choose me. I would rather choose me than settle for less than I deserve, or settle with somebody just giving me something when it was convenient for them, right? Every relationship I've been in has been awful. But then I would say that you have some healing, Debbie, to do. Hold on, Jen, real quick. I want to go back real quick. I just wanted to scroll back because I wanted to make sure I was talking to the right person. So Debbie, when you talk about you left your abusive relationship, did you heal from that? Because it sounds like to me, you didn't heal maybe from that. And so you just kept probably finding the same type of person, right? That's a pattern, right? That's us just continuing our patterns and not taking our power back, right? The key is to be honest with yourself, not settling. Exactly. Jen, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Well, I was just thinking, because you were saying, that you had to take your power back. But like in cases where, maybe you were abused as a child and you didn't feel like you had any power, which is possibly, I'm not sure you were abused. I'm not saying you were, but
I
I'm
wasn't,
saying,
but no, yeah.
though, like possibly it's somebody's situation where they didn't see their power because you might not have even recognized your power. The biggest thing I was thinking is healing that, and letting like going back and telling that younger version of you that didn't get given that
You're
power.
safe. You do have power, and
Yeah.
you are worthy.
Letters. That could be with writing a letter to yourself,
Right.
writing a letter to your future self, saying, this is. But I was thinking of the past mostly. Writing a letter to yourself and saying, it's okay, I love you, you're safe, you're okay. Just being able to.
You're loved, you're worthy. Because sometimes we don't take our power back because we don't feel we're worthy of it. Right.
I was going to say, because I did have some things happen when I was younger. I've written one letter, and one of the things I did say in there is that I said all the things that I would have wanted to hear when I was that age, as far as what happened. And that really helped with that part of it that I was right. I still have more letters to write, but that's.
Well, and I've told people too, just even taking a picture of yourself, and Debbie, this is just something, if you're still not healed from that, maybe finding a picture of yourself from that relationship before you left that abusive relationship, and just telling yourself, and I know it sounds silly, but it really does work, of taking a picture of when you were a child, when you were abused and you lost that power, or whenever it was. But for you specifically, I think maybe when you were in that relationship, and just telling yourself that you are worthy. You are worthy of good things. You're worthy of love. You're worthy of being treated right, whatever it may be. But just talking to yourself in a picture really does work. It is actually good therapy. And I did that with me as a child, saying, you know, what you had to say was important, right? I'm almost 70 years old and I am so much happier now. But you're single, you said, right? You just decided to finally stay single since everything was awful. Is that the deal? While we're waiting for her to respond, if you're just hopping on with us, tell us who you are, where you're from. If you're not familiar, my name is Renee, and we're doing Real Talk with Renee and Jen tonight. We're talking about understanding your power. And one of the points I just wanted to bring out is, yes, it's important to be 100% honest with yourself, but it's also very important to give yourself empathy, right? Not to judge yourself too harshly, right? If you realize that you had these patterns, like I have since my husband's passed, right? I have these patterns. It doesn't make me a bad person. It just means that I have a pattern, and hopefully you can learn from your experience, but give yourself some grace. Don't, be too judgmental about to yourself, and show yourself some grace that, we're all here just doing the best we can and learning as we go sometimes, right?
Mhm.
So,
And I just wanted to piggyback on the other thing that you talked about, which
yep.
basically like the picture and stuff. One
Yeah.
of the things that you can say it, but I also felt it. There was
Yeah.
tears.
Oh yeah.
And
Well, yeah, you can have emotion with it for sure. It's definitely going to hit home
feel
if
like
you have
it's
emotion.
important actually to have that emotion because
Yes.
then you
You
really are
have to
feeling
feel
it.
it to heal it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say on that. But yes, as far as
I'm
giving
glad you
yourself
brought that up.
empathy,
Yeah.
I was gonna say giving yourself empathy, like realizing you're human, that nobody's perfect, that you're learning, that everything that you experience is a learning experience, or something that's supposed to be for your better. Things don't happen, like you've always said, things don't happen to us, they happen for us.
Hi. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. If you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. Thank you. Um, and so now I'm going to piggyback off of what you said, Jen, and it's realizing what you were trying to protect at the time, right? So a lot of times, we are protecting ourselves from something. So, when we feel like maybe as a child our power was taken from, like for me, everybody would tell me, just be quiet. And so I just started to kind of withdraw a little bit, right? And it was more in my 20s that I did that. I just started to withdraw and I wouldn't come to things and those kind of things. But that was my way of protecting myself, right? And so that's why a lot of times too we'll just, it'll manifest into other ways to protect ourselves. Real quick, Jen, no guy will ever put his hands on me ever again. Yep, I understand. Yes, exactly. So showing yourself compassion and understanding that the old you may have developed these habits to survive, right? And I'm sure that maybe you had developed, Debbie, some habits to survive with your husband, right? Maybe doing something to not trigger him or whatever that may be, right? Because that's what we do. We develop these habits in order to protect us. And sometimes, that's not a great thing, but that's what we have to do at that time to protect ourselves. Recognizing that certain choices we made to protect yourself at that time, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jen.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I understand. I wanted to say something about that too, because I know a big thing for me when I was growing up is I didn't get to do anything fun. I never got to do anything fun. So for me now, when I don't do well with control. And if you say, if you're telling me I shouldn't do something, or if you're,
Right.
whether it's right or wrong, sometimes I don't react well. I'm like,
Right.
nobody's going to tell me what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm not trying to do anything wrong. I just I want that autonomy, and taking that away from me by doing things for me, or, that, you know, it
Right.
feels like control, and
Right.
it doesn't feel good, and so that's why I protect myself, you know, when I, you know,
Right.
in those situations, is what I
And
was
I'm
trying
going
to
to get
say.
back to you in a second, Debbie, because I want to talk about that for a second. But Jen, I just kind of want to piggyback off of what you said, and in a way though, you, because of you didn't have any control, now in some ways, right, like you said, even when somebody wants to do something nice for you, you have a hard time letting them because you're so used to, no, I want that control, right?
Or I
Real quick before I let you
want to be controlled. Yeah.
right, yeah. Debbie, have you, there are ways for you to what are the words I'm looking for? I can't talk tonight. As far as the panic attacks, in a way, when you have a panic attack when you see him, that is in a way still giving him control, right? Your power. Your power is being given to him by you having a panic attack. And I don't say that in a mean way. I don't say that at all. Jen, I don't know if you want to elaborate to that.
So yeah, so I think what needs to happen is you need to find a way to
To
heal that
heal
part
that.
of it, so
Yeah.
that you
You need
don't
to
get
heal
those,
from him.
because he's no longer with you, and so therefore it
He
is
doesn't have that
it's
control
kind of
over
an
you.
irrational thing, but you can't help it because it comes out of habit, but it's kind of
Right.
irrational. So in order to get that back in check, is we need to go back to reminding yourself that you are safe, you are not in that situation anymore,
Right.
giving yourself the love that you didn't get when you were in that situation and had to panic.
Right. And maybe just learning when you see him to take a step back and like Jen said, telling yourself, I'm not with him. I'm not going to give you that power. You know what I mean? And just, you don't have to say that to him, but I'm no longer giving you that power. And I'm taking my power back. Right. And also another thing, and I know this isn't a widely known thing. It is more in the spiritual world. But cutting cords with him, right? We all come here on earth and we have a soul contract with people, right? A lot of people don't believe this, but before you come here, you sign up for this, right? And I know when my husband took his life that day, I was like, I can't believe I signed up for this crap, right? But you sign up to go through certain situations so you can learn. And unfortunately, sometimes we sign up for situations that are really, really stinking hard, like abuse or, being a widow at 48, whatever it is, right? But maybe just like doing a cord cutting or tearing up the soul contract, right? Just stating that, you know what, we tried this, we tried to do things right and we couldn't make it work. And then see yourself visit, imagine yourself tearing up the soul contract with your ex-husband and saying, I wish you no harm, but we cannot make this work. We could never make this work. And we tried, but I am no longer tied to you. And like I said, I have no hard feelings, whatever it may be, right? And just see yourself tearing up that soul contract with him. Or do a cord cutting where, you picture a string from you to him and you cut that cord and you're no longer tied to him. But you definitely need to, I would say, I mean, I know you're 70 years old, so I don't know if you want to work on the panic attacks now, but you're still giving him your power a little bit by having those panic attacks. Sadly, he still has your power.
When you said something about the cord cutting, it made me think of, and I'll have to look at it. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's a Hawaiian meditation thing. It's Ho'oponopono, whatever that is. I can't remember if I'm even saying it right, but I want to look it up because that's something that helps with like, and then there's a loving kindness meditation that's may you be, and you're supposed to do the loving kindness to yourself, then to somebody you care about, then somebody you don't really care either way about, and then somebody you hate, and it's supposed to heal that as well. I'll look into that, and then maybe we can do that sometime or talk about it sometime.
And so basically, let's see, reframing your painful events, right, Debbie? So reframing those painful events as moments that built skills. Maybe you gain some problem solving skills from that. Or maybe give you empathy rather than, you didn't fail, right? You took your power back by leaving. I think it's all the trauma I went through with him. He also abused my daughters physically, mentally. Yeah, I understand that. And hopefully your daughters aren't going to continue that, because they continue to let him have the power too, right? If they continue to not heal from their traumas of that physical and mental abuse. So I hope and pray that you have helped them realize that they need to heal from that so they don't go through their life as unhealed people, continuing to give him their power also, right? So let's see. I'm just sorry, I wrote this like a week and a half ago. So like I said, viewing it as a lesson. So for me, I've had a lot of lessons since my husband's passed, discovering my patterns, figuring out how to break those patterns, um, learning my boundaries. That was one of my patterns, is I didn't have boundaries, right? Learning to communicate properly. We had communication in our marriage, but at the same time, there was certain things where I didn't communicate because I felt like it was a no-win situation, right? And so I kind of just withdrew, and that was there again, something that I learned from my childhood. I give my power away all those years ago by being told to be quiet. And so in my marriage, a lot of the times I just withdrew and be quiet, right? Just was quiet and continue to. And so I had to learn how to establish boundaries.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Debbie. Yeah, and that's sad. And like I said, there are ways to heal. You just, unfortunately, you have to feel it to heal it, and they have to walk back through all of that eckiness, and that's what I call the storm, sadly. But that's the only way to heal it. I wish there was a way that we could all just snap our fingers and go, I'm magically healed. But unfortunately, you have to walk back through that abuse and really, really feel it. And,
And I think
like I
that's what,
said, and find the, obviously maybe there isn't a positive out of it, but you learn something, right? Maybe you learn to set boundaries with the next guy or whatever that may be, right? Jen, were you going to say something?
no, I was just gonna say I think that's why as so many people are not healed because they
They don't want to
avoid
feel it.
they
Yeah.
avoid feeling that they don't want to go back there. Just like that other person the other day saying, "Well, it hurts too much to go revisit that," and then it's like, well, I understand that, but and it is gonna hurt. I mean, I understand completely, but
Right.
there's no other way.
Right. So instead of focusing on what you didn't do before, right? Recognizing how far you've come. That's a big thing, right? I just wrote him a phantom letter to him, letting everything out. Good. And burn the letter if you have to. Burn the letter, and say it is done or whatever, right? Um, but yes, the writing letters really do help, for sure. Um, Sorry, I was gonna say something and I just lost my my train of thought here. Oh, not focusing on, then, but now focusing on how far you've come, right?
Mhm.
And for me, I focus on, okay, I've learned to set better boundaries and to hold them, and I'm proud of myself. One of my last relationships that I was in, I was really upset with something, and instead of being triggered by it, I've learned to take a step back and gather my thoughts where before I would have just been triggered and went off, right? I've learned to take a step back and gather my thoughts and really think about things. And then I went to him and I said, what you said to me really hurt me. And I was really proud of myself, right? That for me, that was a huge, huge step. I look at it as everything is a lesson and a learning experience in life is how we deal with it. Exactly. It is. It really is how we deal with it. And you're absolutely correct. Life is just a big school is all it is. We sign up to come here to learn lessons. That's it. Jen, did you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I just agree with you. I did learn a lot of lessons from past relationships of what like
Oh,
I
okay.
now
She burned it.
focus. I'm sorry. Yeah, she said I burned it. Basically, I now focus on like, okay, um, getting my boundaries out there and so that they know what they are, but also looking at it and like, oh, I can't even think of what I was saying. Oh, basically, I'm trying to think of what I was trying to say, but looking at it and going, oh, I take a step back and I go, okay, what is the situation? I literally will ask so many questions. What do you mean by that? What, because then I can get a better judgment and I
How to
don't respond
respond.
with emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't
that's big.
respond. I don't react with emotion. I respond and I go, okay, now I know, but I didn't know that before. Because you'll see, okay, there's something that could trigger me back here. And then you go, okay, well, let me see what's going on with that and
Right.
ask questions and
And I was,
clarify.
excuse me, I was big about that, about being triggered, and I would go off, right? Because after so many years of resentment of giving my power away, I would just be triggered and I would just, I would explode. And so that was something else that I had to learn after my husband passed is not letting myself be triggered, learning to take a step back, right? And that is exactly right, right? Like our we are not our thoughts, we are not our emotions. We can control them,
Hmm.
contrary to what most people believe, right?
Right.
Um
A lot of people, like, even I hear kids saying, oh, he made me do that. Well, you made the choice to react. Of course, kids,
Nobody can make us do anything. Yeah.
right? We choose how to react to things. And,
Yep. It is a learning process. You're absolutely correct. And we all learn every day, right? Yep. Um, so Jen, if you don't have anything else, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
no, I wrote down that note about the other thing and I already brought it up, so you're good.
Okay,
But
I'm just going to finish what I had then.
Mhm.
So some of the big takeaways is stop clinging to those old stories, right? Like Debbie, I'm sure you could have clinged to the old story of I was abused. So, you could go into another maybe relationship and it would be justified, right? Playing the victim card, basically, so to speak. Or that old story of I'm not worthy, and so hopping into another relationship and and settling, right? Continuing to give your power away. Oh, I hope we did help you. Thank you for hopping on. And let us know if you would like any help with those panic attacks because we can help you. And I would love to talk to your daughters too. So please let them know we are here. I am here Sunday through Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, anytime. And you're so welcome to DM me. Are you following me, Debbie? Okay, awesome. Message me because I would love to help them if there's any way that I can help them. You're not a victim, but you're now a survivor. Exactly. And that's what survivors do. They take their power back. So I'm so glad that you were here with us tonight. If you're just hopping on and joining us, we're just finishing up tonight's Real Talk with Renee and Jen. And we were talking about understanding your power and ways that we've lost our power, but ways that now we're gaining our power back. And like I said, some of the takeaways are recognizing that old story and making a conscious decision to represent the new story, right? The new story is I'm not a victim. I now have boundaries. I now, am not settling, and sometimes it's hard because, that old me, that old story plays in my head and says, no, you're not worthy and it's okay to settle. And because sometimes it's so hard to want to step out of your comfort zone. I was in a situation here a couple months ago where I could have easily settled and because it was comfortable, but I knew that wasn't the right place or the right situation for me. And so I couldn't do that. I couldn't give away my power again and just settle, right? You're so very welcome. It was Janet, right?
You're
Um,
welcome.
okay, so acknowledging your strengths, uh, know the wisdom that you've gained and the lessons that you've learned. And let's see what else I've got. Allowing you to step into your power and finding your peace in the present, right? Jen, anything else you'd like to add? before I
Well, I
close?
was going to say something about the old story, but you already moved past that. So.
No, you're good. Go ahead. No, no, no. We're never past that. You can
Well,
continue.
I know, but I also wanted to hear again what you said, the last thing. But no, yeah, because what happens is when you keep telling the same story, like, I mean, I know for a while I was like, oh, this is what happened to me. This is what happened to me in my, in my first marriage and my, whatever. And it caused me to get another marriage very similar to it, not the same. But so once I realized that I don't have to tell that old story, and you can say, because people will say, oh, everybody always screws me over. Well, then you're going to continue to attract that. So once you change that story and you
Well,
say
that's not
no,
taking personal responsibility either, because you obviously you're in the same type of relationship for a reason, which means there's something you need to be
to
accountable to
learn.
yourself and to change and take
To learn.
responsibility for
Yeah, a
yourself.
lesson that you need to learn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I didn't know if the part where I said allowing you to step into your power and finding your peace in the present, is that what, or was there another one?
Yeah, that was definitely yes, because I feel like once you're able, because I mean, I know I'm not fully everything, is healed, whatever, but I know now that I feel more peaceful. I like that word peace because now that I know that I have the power to say, look, this is not okay. Or whatever in any situation, like with a family member or something, I feel like more peaceful about it because I know that I am able to do it. Because before it was like, well, if I do that, what's gonna happen? Now I know I can do it, and what happens happens, but I'm gonna be okay. And
Right.
either way, whatever the outcome is, I'll be okay, and I'm gonna survive, whatever the
Yep.
situation is. And
Yep.
knowing that, because before I never trusted that, I thought I'm not gonna survive. I literally, my last marriage that I just got out of several years ago, I thought my life was over because
Yeah.
I screwed up, you know, it was my second time getting married after like however many 30 years. I didn't get married for a long, I think I was, yeah,
Right.
30 years. I was 50 when I got married. And the first time I had gotten divorced was I was 21. So almost 30 years. And I thought, wow, I guess I, screwed up again. My life is over, because now I have nowhere to live, all this other stuff. But now I know after dealing with all that, that I can survive and also making sure that I don't get in that situation by voicing my boundaries. And
Jen, real
so
quick. Um, you have a question? What's your question? Just throw it out there. Hopefully TikTok lets me see your comment. Is that what you're trying to tell me? You have a question? What's your question?
Bernard, yep.
While we're waiting for your question, I'm gonna go into if you're not familiar, I do also have a YouTube channel. It's under Scorpio Medium. If you're not a subscriber over there, I would love it if you went over there and subscribed. What was I gonna say? I totally lost my train of thought now. Oh, all the videos that you find here, I apologize, guys. I've had a headache all day, so my brain is a little fuzzy. But all the videos that you find here, you'll find over there. But if you enjoy my lives, you can catch one over there. If you've missed one, I upload all of those over there. I thought it was normal, but now I know different. Yep, and
Exactly,
that's the
Debbie.
thing too is recognizing that sometimes that isn't normal, right? The patterns and the abuse and all of that good stuff. So that's a great point, Debbie, for sure. Like I said, I am here Sunday through Wednesday. Sunday night, we're now doing Real Talk with Renee and Jen. We do a different topic every Sunday night. Tonight, we're talking about understanding your power and what that means. I have changed my time as of tonight to 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to try a new time, see how that works. That could change because I start a new job on Tuesday, so we'll see how tired I am and where we go from there. But right now, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Like I said, I am here till Wednesday. Wednesday, we are doing mini reads. I am a psychic medium if you're not aware. Hence, Scorpio Medium on YouTube. You guys help me get a job? You need help getting a job? Is that what he's saying? I'm
Yeah,
not
I think
sure.
he says I need you guys to help me get a job. I mean, well, I don't know how to help you to get a job.
Well, elaborate for us. What help do you need? You need us to tell you how to dress, or what are you looking for here? Elaborate for us a little bit. So like I said, I am here Sunday through Wednesday, with Wednesday being mini reads. So we're just basically doing psychic questions only. Any job, huh? Have you applied for any? That usually helps. If you are interested in a full reading, I do readings. You can get. I cannot talk tonight, Jen, at all. I tell you what. If you are interested in a reading, go down to my bio. You'll find my email. That's how we set those up. That's the only way you can set one up with me. Other than sometimes you can DM me on here, and I'll also set that up for you.
Debbie, that would be 8 Eastern time would be 8:30 then.
Yes. So it's 8:30 because I'm in Central Time, so I'm an hour behind you, Debbie. So 8:30 every night. I'm here Sunday through Wednesday, unless sometimes if I'm not, I do have a few health issues sometimes, or if emergency comes up, I will post that I'm not going to be on. I try to. You're so very welcome. I hope you have a great night. Last but not least, I do have a Venmo. So if you enjoy my content and you would like to leave me a tip, you can do that. You can find that down in my bio. Also, I just want to hop back to my readings real quick. I do offer half an hour sessions and hour sessions. So if there's somebody you would like to talk to that has crossed over, like I said, find my email, send me an email, and I can set that up for you. That's pretty much all I have. Jen, did you have anything else you wanted to add tonight?
No, I think just to close everything up, once you it's important to gain your power back, and the sooner the better. But even if you're in your 70s, 80s, whatever, you can still do that. And healing is the first step. Loving yourself.
Finding your peace. Well, and that's what people don't understand. Like I said, and I'm going to read that again just because so people understand. Allowing you to step into your power is helping you find your peace right here, right now in the present. So, and that's what's important, right? Because the past is the past and the future isn't here yet. Tomorrow's never promised. So to be able to have peace right here in our present is the most important thing you can have. So,
And speaking of which,
yes, go ahead.
Staying present is what helps you.
Exactly.
Like keeping the present, basically like staying present. So when you're in a situation, just feeling how the environment is. I mean, those are things. If you're struggling, like if she has a panic attack, getting grounded and staying in the present. Yep.
Yep.
To get through those panic attacks.
Exactly. And that is a really good point. And there again, just pointing out that, okay, in the present moment, I'm not with him. He doesn't have my power. He doesn't have control over me anymore. Right.
And if she's not able to say those words, find another way to ground. What can I feel? What can I taste? What can I touch? What is that? Feel and touch, the same thing, but you know what I mean.
You know what she meant.
What can I smell? If you can't think of those thoughts in your head, because sometimes people can't, then do other things to ground yourself, and then that'll bring you back, and then you can remind yourself once you go, oh yes. So that would be a piggyback off of that. Once you ground yourself like physically, then you can ground yourself mentally with those thoughts of like you're safe and you're fine. So
exactly. Well, thank you everybody for all the love and all of the comments. We really do appreciate them. Thanks, Jen, for joining me on another Sunday night. I appreciate you all so very much. This has been Real Talk with Renee and Jen. Join me tomorrow night. I'm not sure what we're talking about yet. I'll be back here at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a great night. Remember to make tomorrow great because it is a choice. Thank you for the hearts. We do appreciate those. And remember also it's Monday. It's a new week. It's a fresh start. Make it count. Like I said, make it a great day. It is a choice. And on that note, I'll see y'all tomorrow night. Bye, Jen.
Bye.